Star Citizen Alpha 3.14.0 is now in the first wave of its PTU, so this means we can take a look at all of its new features and locations. This build has Evocati, Concierge and RSI subscribers all getting access, but it will go out to Open PTU and live later in the month. So let's check out the new locations and ships first. Crusader is a giant visible gas giant now, made of planetary volumetric clouds, V1. The initial version of this system is supposed to convincingly render multi-layered volumetric clouds of varying scale within planetary atmospheres. So the cloud tech is not finished though, and is in active development currently. You will see some glitches, and there are performance issues, and they're working on local VFX and stuff like that. So more improvements will be coming to the gas cloud tech in the future. There is a new city here, the Horizon Landing Zone, which you can also choose to spawn at. It's comprised of a latticework of platforms suspended in mid-atmosphere, where the air is breathable, so you can actually breathe on this landing zone, even though it's just floating around Crusader. Horizon is considered one of the more picturesque locations in Stanton, and it really is. The zone there is absolutely beautiful. There's a lot to explore here. It isn't fully finished yet though, so it doesn't have all the features of a landing zone like New Babbage yet. It still needs to have some of its stuff that's getting later this year. Its hospital, ship shop, and a few more things. The public transport there, the Crusader shuttle, will move you around to the different platforms and act like any of the other sort of trains and stuff that you see at landing zones. Microtech, New Babbage, that's had an added hospital there. It's just the first pass, and it adds the lobby, and they're sort of remodeling the lobby near the Habs in New Babbage to accommodate the hospital and gameplay that's going to be in a future release, but we're starting to get that made out. The RSI Constellation Taurus has been added to the game as well. This is the cargo-focused stripped-down version of the Connie that's been long awaited. So we've got some major gameplay mechanics and changes in 3.14. So radar scanning and ping tier 0. Tab now does a ping from your ship. Radar will passively locate and track contacts and display their whereabouts to the player. Scanning is used to obtain information about specific entities. Ping actively finds additional contacts or highlights volumes of space to investigate weak signatures, both of which are displayed via the radar and its AR HUD elements. There is a new UI element for IR heat, EM energy, and CS cross-section signatures. Blobs are generated when an entity's signature strength is strong enough to reach the radar, but not strong enough to be detected as a contact. Blobs are visually divided into cuboids on the ship's display and indicate a volume of space to investigate. Various entities could be there. The size of a blob is based on the signature strength of the entity, meaning a large blob is less accurate, and you don't know exactly where the entity's position may be within that. As a little side note addition, they've also increased detection range of mineable rocks. Power Management version 2. This is pretty huge as a change. They are rebalancing the existing power systems and integrating capacitors into it. You will have the ability to manage the amount of extra energy that goes into thrusters, weapons and shields, making critical decisions on energy distribution in order to defend, attack, or pursue or evade. This also includes added keybinds to control these via F5 to F7, and F8 will reset. Or you can use the power triangle on the MFD, the multifunction display. You put it into what you think is engines. Well, that's actually thruster capacity regeneration speed. Shield regeneration is the shields, and energy, weapon, ammo regeneration is weapons. So if you're running all sort of ballistic weapons, don't put your energy into weapons. That's my suggestion in the current build. With the new additions to capacitor gameplay comes a wide rework to ship flight and thruster handling, ship behavior, weapon damage, and ammo counts. This full rework on ships is to bring them closer to their intended roles in the universe. Weapon fire rates and damage have been increased dramatically. Ammo rates have been significantly reduced. Energy weapons now have limited ammo, which is automatically regenerated when the weapon is not being used. You put power to the weapons, and energy weapons will regenerate their ammo faster. Throttling and overclocking is disabled for the time being, and is going to be re-evaluated post 3.14's launch. Manned turrets have their isolated weapon capacitor systems, which will generate weapons faster and provide a deeper pool. So you don't have to worry about the pilot firing weapons in a multi-crew ship, because each of the manned turrets has their own weapon capacitor for their guns. Shields. There's been a full balance rework on shields below size 3 to turn them into bubble type shields with a single face. This basically means that ships that have size 1 or 2 shields, small ships, will have a single face. It's a single bubble shield, yeah? And larger ships that have size 3 shields or more will have multiple faces. So bear that in mind. They have also removed shield hardening, but those larger ships which have 4 faces, that's a big bonus, because obviously if the face isn't getting shot at, it's going to be regenerating. There is a goal here to make larger ships basically have a higher time to kill as well. A fighter should not be able to just annihilate a much larger ship. That's why you need other ships, fighters, bombers, other larger ships to all fight each other and that sort of stuff. You can't just go, well, my ship is able to destroy a hammerhead by itself. That's not the intention. Thrusters and engines. So they've added separate regeneration pools for boost, which was formerly afterburner. They have been flip-flopping between afterburner and boost for a while. Putting power in thrusters will make thrusters boost bar basically fill up faster. They've also added an option to automatically enable or disable boost during space braking. So obviously if you want to space brake quicker, you can use boost there. HUDs and UIs have been updated to display all this information in a sensible manner as well. So we have missile operator mode. This is a new operator mode that has a separate sort of mode for your normal, traditional ordnance and guns, and the missile and torpedo gameplay within ships. So using this mode will give pilots more control over what missiles and torpedoes are fired as well. They should no longer be viewed as just another weapon, but have a much more distinct and important use to the overall sort of combat mechanics. Accessing the operator mode is toggled via middle mouse. Upon accessing the mode, players lose control of any of the other ship's weapons and gain control of the missile systems. But obviously, if it's a multi-crew ship, that's already divided. So you already have the pilot shooting the main guns and flying around, and then someone else can control the missiles. PPU is the idea there. Selecting ordnance, so players will be able to lock and fire one kind of missile class at a time. In addition, each missile rack will only be able to stock one model of missile, though pre-existing split loadouts will still work technically, though the UIs might not support them properly, so there might be some issues there. Basically, you enter the mode, you can cycle forward and back over your missile types and see what next class of missile you have available to you, so you can choose which ones you want, and then you can choose how to fire missiles. Do you want to fire them in a burst? Do you want to fire multiple missiles at the same time? Pressing G and left alt and G, you can select how many missiles you want to fire up to a maximum amount. You then have to wait for each missile to arm before it can be fired. Locking onto a target, if a player is in missile operator mode and has a locked combat target, the missile will automatically begin locking onto the target. The locking process is no longer binary. So after a minimum level of lock to acquire the target, the longer you lock for, the better the lock becomes, and the harder the missile will become to spoof or shake off. This is achieved with some simple multiplier of the target signal, basically, so it will amplify the signature the longer you have it locked. This means that missiles will only be distracted and go after other targets if their signature is significantly larger than their target with that amplified signature. So sort of bear that in mind. You can also be quite clever and sort of fly near a large ship if you're trying to avoid missile lock, because that will go, well, actually, this large ship is quite a big signature, and obviously firing off countermeasures and that sort of stuff as well. If you try and fire a missile before the missile is fully locked, then the missile will dumbfire straight forwards. At any point after the missile has been armed, the player can initiate the launch procedure, which will fire any currently armed missiles and begin a cooldown until they can begin arming the next missiles. So if players begin firing missiles without a lock, that will be dumbfired, which is cool because people have wanted that for ages. This can be used for ground targets, bombing runs, emergency situations, or to avoid enemy ships being notified about incoming missiles and combat locks. If more than one rack has the same type of missile, then missiles will be expended from racks in a staggered rotation, so you don't launch them all from a single rack. You'll launch them from an equal, or I suppose balanced amount from each of the launchers. Missiles have also had a guidance and control rework. This uses the IFCS system and guidance control systems. This improves missile performance and tracking ability, enabling greater control over general missile behaviors. They hunt and track targets much more sensibly, and when close, they sort of expend all of their fuel aggressively to try and hit their target with the remainder of their fuel, which is quite sensible, I suppose, because you want to impact your target. Claiming a ship no longer restocks missiles and torpedoes. Players will need to restock their ship manually through landing services after reclaiming. So also with this change, they have reduced the base wait time for all insurance claims. So that is something pretty awesome. They have updated all ship HUDs with the new canvas slice system. As I said, there's a load of new information on those HUDs Players now see a universal bearing along the top edge as well. Pitch ladders have moved from the center of the player's vision to the right side. They've also added 3D velocity and acceleration meters on the bottom of the corner, along with all those other changes. IFCS wind thruster volume effects have been added, so you've got pretty sort of volume effects based on ground materials and dust and blowing where the thruster's actually blowing, and all pretty. There are law and prison updates. They've removed the trespass zones from underground facilities. Destroying a party member's empty vehicle no longer results in a crime. They updated the prison code entry interface to prevent it from resetting the code on failed attempts to stop a bug that would make it no longer able to accept codes, so you're more easily able to escape prison. Crimes for assaulting a security officer should no longer be given outside of a monitored zone. Knockouts no longer count as a kill. The addition of surrender allows players to be arrested without losing a life, so you just, when you get told by security forces to sort of like halt, you can power down your ship, stop, and they will impound your ship, send you to prison along with everyone else on your ship. Also get sent to prison, so bear that in mind. But you basically get a reduced sentence if you surrender. You can't surrender to players at the moment. This is part of a bigger bounty hunting and crime update, which will be coming later. They've also updated the main menu background. There's additional graphics settings, so you can select different qualities for volumetric clouds, as well as tessellation of terrain distance, and the scattered objects where they spawn in, what sort of distance. They've also added new options for party nameplates to be shown. Something I want to mention, delete your PTU shader or user folder if you've had a previous PTU download, and this will help you avoid a huge amount of bugs and potentially get some more frames per second. There were some massive fixes this patch, and I will highlight a couple of them for this PTU phase, but we will look at them later when the patch goes live, and during sort of like the updated patch notes for each of the PTU patches when we look at them. But player friends lists should now no longer be capped at 50. Carryable items should no longer disappear very quickly when they're dropped on the ground. Mars Eckhart should now function correctly, as should his missions, at least when you're not experiencing a known issue. Ships should correctly resupply when getting services, and they fixed an issue causing players to be unable to claim their ship from the ASOP Terminal's claim button. This 3.14.0 first wave initial PTU patch does have some known issues though, which I want to go over here because this will give you a significantly better quality of life when playing this patch. Gas clouds on Crusader have graphical artifacts and problems. Obviously, I discussed that earlier. Orison's objects and textures load slowly. Sometimes a single location will appear, only a single location, if a player spools their drive before setting a destination on the star map. Workaround, spool your quantum drive before opening the star map, and then open it and set a route. Various UI markers are faded and hard to read. You're unable to scan for FPS or rocks-sized mining deposits until very close. Polarisar is missing a quantum travel marker. That is one way of dealing with that station. You can't go to it at the moment. Dust storms cause black squares and graphical glitches. The AI at underground facilities and security post Korea have desync issues. After being approved for a docking request, there is no docking UI present, which makes docking hard. Unable to shoot with the hammerhead turrets, and ammo being displayed as 0 is a problem. If you fire missiles and you're moving too fast, they hit you. They hit yourself. Security ships do not recognize illegal goods on board ships sometimes. Ping scans are unable to detect FPS and large FPS deposits. Calls with players using certain seats or stations display grey screens. Players can clip through the exterior door of the 890 jumper while it's docked. Missions do not recognize players entering zone, and AI are unresponsive or not visible to players during missions. There are uneven physics proxies at the hospital entrance, which prevents players from taking trolleys, walking frames, and gurneys in and out of the hospital. Multiple ships can be observed having looping animations with their missile racks, impacting their ability to fire their payloads. The pilots' weapons HUDs no longer are visible after entering and exiting a turret. Cave FPS missions can become withdrawn when nearing the cave. AI ship nameplates are missing and showing as placeholder. Intense fog can be seen in docking port interior at all rest stops with docking. The player has no collision when they're manning the turret of the Rock DS, and there is a flashing that sometimes occurs when in the VMA, the Vehicle Manager app on the Mobiglass. Boom! And that's it for a quick look at the patch notes and new features of that first initial Alpha 3.14 build, but there may be more features or bits, balance and extras coming to the patch before live and for the live build. At least more bug fixes, I suppose, and balance at the very least before it goes to Open PTU and the live build. But what do you think? Are you liking the sound of the combat changes? They are actually pretty extreme. There's a huge amount of balance that's gone onto ships and changes here as well, which is a bit more under the hood, which we'll look at in a bit more detail. We'll also be looking at a tour of Orison and Crusader, probably later today, at time of recording. But what about Orison and Crusader? Do you think it's pretty, or does it need more work? Are you playing the new build now, or are you waiting for live? What are your thoughts? I'd love to hear from you in the comments below. Hey, I heard you like VPNs. How about NordVPN then? It's got things like security and features, and we all know chicks dig VPNs. Oh my god, is that Nord? Well, yes. Yes, it is. Wink. Check out the links below to get discounts, or go to nordvpn.com/BoredGamer. Maybe it will align your chakras or something. Actually, let's read some testimonials. Ever since I got NordVPN, my life is good. I wish I'd got NordVPN sooner. I didn't get NordVPN and now I've got no hands. I'm sorry that I recorded this as an ad-in. I apologise to my editor. I said I wouldn't go too wacky. That's not what's happened here. Every month we have a ship giveaway, and for July it's for a Constellation Taurus with lifetime insurance and a Star Citizen game package. All you need to play! This long overdue, more cargo-focused version of the Constellation is going to be flyable in July. It's basically a new ship. Woo! Sort of. To be in for a chance of winning that, comment on any of my videos made during July, and each video gives you another chance to win, but only one comment is counted per video. More details down below. Please also consider supporting the channel further via the YouTube join button, or via Patreon, or donation, or whatever. It all helps us make Star Citizen content. Great Star Citizen content, hopefully, or at least some Star Citizen content. Also, you should bother the bell and like and subscribe and all that sort of jazz as well. Thanks for watching.